Hello, friends. Welcome back to the tasting room. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Or a bunch of minutes. So we took a little holiday break, a little Christmas break.
And then COVID hit.
Yours
again.
truly got Omicron at a New Year's Eve party in Denver, Colorado.
And as one does during the Omicron hit, you know. Hey, so I was talking to one of my brewers today, and, you know, I think I hold a high score because it's 684 days today or 686 days since the pandemic, and I still have not gotten COVID.
Go ahead and knock on that piece of wood right there.
I'll do it.
There you go. Don't want to
So
be
high
jinxing
score?
that one. Right? That is a high score. We have some good bourbon to drink today. You brought a couple beers, one of which I did not partake in because you're trying to kill me with my allergy
That's fine.
reactions for some reason. Lisa Becklund is on the podcast. She is the chef and owner of both Living Kitchen Farm and Farmbar, Tulsa, which is over in the old vintage spot, 18th and Boston, next to De Lissandro's. And it was a great, I mean, I think I say this every time we do an intro, but great conversation, great time. It was just a lot of fun.
The conversation that you're going to listen to goes from one corner of the world to the next.
Yeah, honestly.
Goes from really light to really deep.
Yeah.
Really quick.
And you'll want to
really
stick
cool.
through it all. Some good stuff at the end, so we'll just let you get right to it. We'll bring Lisa on right after the break.
Cheers.
Hey, I'm John. I'm one of the partners here at Grassfire Creative. We are a production company. We do animation, video production, live production, anything you need to creatively tell both your story and your business's story. Along with the content that we create, we also provide the strategy behind how to get it in front of the eyeballs that matter to you. We're located right in the middle of the United States in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so no matter where you are, we're just a short flight away. Bottom line is we are very excited to both meet you and tell your business's story. Please do reach out to us one of the ways below via email or phone number, and check out more about us at our website, grassfirecreative.com. Okay, real quick. You're not Lisa.
No, I'm not.
Lisa. We had a little bit of a technical issue that you can totally blame me for. So this podcast, we just wanted to give you a heads up. It's going to sound
just a little bit different.
not quite as good as we sound right now talking into these microphones, because yours truly forgot to do mic checks and didn't realize that we got
none
audio out of Lisa's microphone. So I did some editing magic, put some filters on. So what you're going to hear is actually audio from the camera that you're looking at us through now. So it won't sound quite as rich, but you'll be able to hear the conversation and all that stuff. So we just wanted to give you a
It
heads
still
up.
sounds okay.
It does.
It still sounds good.
Yeah. So just a quick disclaimer. Most of our podcasts, if this is your first one, sound a lot better than this
Truly.
one will sound. Enjoy, Lisa.
Cheers.
Welcome back, everyone.
It's been a minute.
It has been a long minute.
I mean, we talked about it in the intro, but Christmas break, COVID break, thanks Omicron.
Yeah.
For me.
January was shut down.
Yeah. It was fun. You've been off, Miss Lisa, our guest. This is going to be so much fun. We're going to have to talk about everything that you brought. But let's start with, you want to call it a vacation? Has it been a vacation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Technically, I mean, for most of the people that work for me, it's been a vacation. For me, it's been a time of just like going to bed early, waking up early, working on little projects around the farm, just sort of getting my mojo back.
So I was going to say you're the executive chef, but I don't know your exact title. What title do you go by at Living Kitchen and Farmbar?
Well, I just tell people I just cook here.
I'm just a James Beard nominee, which we'll get to, but I just cook here.
Yeah, like people try to, ask me really important questions, and I say, I just cook here. You're gonna have to email Linda. But
I love that.
I mean, I really do. Of course, I'm the chef and co-owner with my partner Linda Ford, and we're going on our second year.
That's awesome.
I know, I can't hardly believe it.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on that.
You picked a great year to open too.
Yeah.
First year, let's throw a new opening on top of like everything with pandemic and everything else. Like, my goodness. But you survived.
It was an experience. I didn't know. I mean, I thought, kind of living on the farm and sort of doing farm table dinners, have a living kitchen. I've been through some hard times out there, some droughts, I feel like it just made my resilience a lot stronger. I'm a much more resilient person because of my experience just farming, and all the sort of weather occurrences that happen. I pretty much can roll with most punches.
That's an interesting way to put it.
And
It's like you were more prepared for the punches that came in a way.
Yeah, for Farmbar I was more prepared, but I have to admit at the farm I really had a hard time because Living Kitchen Farm is all about community and community dining. So we do one seating, it's everybody's around one big long table, maybe 40 people, and
not exactly COVID conducive, right?
no, because we were cramming them in there like sardines,
Right.
and that just got shut right down.
No doubt.
So I think, everyone was talking about pivoting takeout. Well, I just can't wrap my head around takeout. It's not how I'm built.
It's not the experience.
It's not what I do,
right?
right? Because I love cooking, but more than cooking, what I love is bringing people together. And so if I have both, I'm on point. But if I have to just do one, it's just kind of like I feel like I'm just not in the game.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So
Yeah.
the way we do this is we have 6 packet questions. We'll each come up with 3. Usually we ask a lot more than that, but that's supposed to be the rules. I
We break them very often.
usually start by pouring a bourbon and let Austin ask the first question. You were our first guest who does not partake in alcohol, which is why you brought so much fun things. So in addition to this, I'll let you pick out something that you want to try, and we'll kind of share everything. Austin and I'll share this Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit single barrel from one of the bourbon groups I'm in. I have tried it, if you can't tell.
I do see that. I cheated.
I did cheat. It's been a minute since we've done the podcast, and I have all these bourbons just staring at me, so I tried them. And the whole
we should lined up for a while.
right, and the whole rule of what is it, like old wives' tale? Like when you're sick, you just take like whiskey and some honey or something like that. I don't know. I tried it, and here I am. So we're just gonna say it worked. So I'll pour this. I'll ask you a question, and you can pick something that you want to try over
absolutely.
there too. Yeah.
Okay.
What you got, Mr. Austin?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So this is really fun for me because, as you know, well, I don't know if you've ever been to our brewery, and if you don't drink alcohol, I doubt that you have. But if you know anything about us, our slogan is craft brewer community. So when we talk about your business being surrounded by bringing people together and bringing people around one table, it is the same shock that we had when COVID came around, and we're like, well, our entire business is surrounded by community, and it is so hard to break your mindset away from that mentality when you're not supposed to bring people together around a table. So I commend you for surviving that, and all of us trudging through some mud that we didn't
These are kind of
expect.
heavy pours.
No, that's okay.
I didn't realize I poured so heavy, but I think you'll be okay.
I think we'll be okay.
We'll be all right.
Okay, I'm going to pass this.
Okay.
You pass this over now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so.
Yeah, tell us what we're doing.
what I want to know is, so there at your restaurant, did the farm come first, or and if it came first, was the restaurant a concept that you had already had in mind? And what is the relationship there?
Okay, so it's complicated, I
Sure.
will tell you that, but I moved to Oklahoma from Seattle in 2003, the end of 2003, and in Seattle I had a whole other restaurant life. I owned a couple of restaurants there. One was a screaming success, and the other was a complete and utter failure. Well, the failure kind of blew my mind, and I decided I wanted to get out of the restaurant business altogether. So the restaurant that was doing really well, I was able to sell to my sous chef and her husband. And I was able to kind of slough off the ugly, big ass failure.
What were the, if you don't mind me interrupting, what were the two concepts? Were they different?
Well, actually, no. One was an Italian delicatessen, a Sula Maria, and the other was a Sicilian restaurant.
Okay, so they were in the same family.
Yeah, I mean, actually, most people would be surprised to know that before I moved to Oklahoma, I had never not worked in an Italian restaurant. I have only worked in an Italian restaurant since I was 14 years old.
Is that also where you learned?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
well, I did go to culinary school
Okay.
and apprenticeship, but even when I was doing my apprenticeship at what was then the Stoker Madison Hotel, which is now part of the Renaissance Group, it was Italian, fine dining. And so, yeah, I mean, that was really all I knew. And I had, my partner was Sicilian, and so it made sense that instead of opening up a kind of like quote unquote Italian restaurant, that we would really focus on the foods of Sicily. Basically, La Medusa is still open. So I mean, I think it'll be open now almost 25 years,
That's
which
amazing.
I feel like is a really good legacy. And but I have to say, I was pretty traumatized for many years after that. I mean, I kind of feel like I just got over it.
Really?
It
took that long?
Yeah.
And when did that close, or when did you?
Oh man, I moved to Oklahoma in 2003, so really I sold it in 2002.
Oh, my word.
And I came here to farm, get out of the restaurant business. I always loved farmers markets. I had a real appreciation for farming, fresh vegetables. So one of the things that we started at La Medusa was to do Farmers Market Wednesday, and that was, we did a 6-course tasting menu based on stuff that we picked up at the farmers market that afternoon.
That's so cool.
So it was a blast, and it ended up on our slowest night becoming like our busiest night.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they just, I don't know if they're still doing it, but that was still like going on, even just recently. But I really wanted to get out of the restaurant business, so I moved to Oklahoma. Why Oklahoma? Well,
You're taking the question out of my mouth, yeah. Why
I mean,
Oklahoma?
if you're not from Oklahoma, because there is this homing pigeon, kind of effect, right? Like you Okies are so great. You go out and then you come back, and it's so awesome. But for us outsiders, it is like this refuge, and I knew someone who lived here, who farmed, and I was just gonna stay for a year, kind of get my head together, and then maybe go try to find some land in Washington, which is absolutely like impossible.
Oh yeah.
Or really expensive if you could, right?
Yeah. So, so the farm came first. So yeah, I have been out in Deep U, which is like between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. It's like right in the middle. So I've lived there for 13 years.
How I've never been. Maybe I have been through DPU.
This a touch closer.
How far away from Strata are you?
Oh, just 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 miles.
Okay,
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, which is really fabulous. And there just happens to be an amazing log cabin on the property, which is like beautiful. And so all the dinners are out on a screened-in porch. But the fact is that what brought me to the dinners was that I was a shitty farmer.
Well, you couldn't have been that shitty, because
I was
you
pretty
came
bad.
here in 2003, or when did you start the farm?
Yeah, I know, it's pitiful, isn't it? Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the dinners really kind of started in 2008, when I was so broke. I mean, I think at one point I had $13, like that was it, $13. And that weekend, I had a lavender dinner. That was the first dinner that we had. And it was like 5 courses, everything had lavender in it. And and I was able to go buy feed and you know, and so I sort of just, this is what I know. I've only cooked and I'm still learning. I mean, even though I've been growing vegetables for so many years, every year Oklahoma throws me something different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. I'll make a comment and then we'll talk about what we're drinking, and then I have a question for you too, a follow up to that. But pretty much I'd say 90% of, so you're episode 10, you're the 10th guest, and I would say 8 or 9, if not all 10, have been in some way, shape, or form an entrepreneur.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's amazing how much the stress, or you could call it like the drive of being flat out just broke, is like this catalyst to, I don't have a choice but to be successful, because if I'm not, then that's just not a choice. Like, I'm out of money, like I have to be successful. And it's always this like, your ass is against the wall, what are you gonna do? And it spurns this like, I don't know, at least for me, it just stokes this fire, right?
Yeah, a lot of the best creativity comes out of those moments sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, I often like, you know, would worry about the future, like, oh my gosh, I mean, I think like, it might be, I know a lot of women share this, where their biggest fear is becoming a bag lady. Not that, you know, I don't respect bag ladies, but I'm just, that's not what I want my path to be. But I think just having that fear alone just like pushes me, propels me forward, that, you know, it is totally a possibility.
I mean, it's to this day, any one of us or anyone listening, like if you own your own business and do your own thing, it could go south.
Yeah.
Like it could. Yeah. And so it spurned, to me, it stokes creativity. You know, how do we stay ahead of the game? How do we stay ahead of the curve? What can I do to guarantee that, or as much as I can, right? Yeah. Guarantee, mitigate that risk as much as possible by being on the leading edge of X, Y, or Z, or I don't know. It's an interesting thing to hear entrepreneurs, and it all in some way, shape, or form has like that backstory to an extent.
Well, and I also kind of feel like people in the restaurant business in particular are sort of like really at risk, because, you know, we're the industry that really doesn't have good retirement. You know, we don't get a lot of benefits that like maybe other industries might get. And, you know, because we want our freedom, we're kind of like, you know, badasses.
It's like the anti-job or something, right? It's the way it's viewed.
Right. I mean, you can get away with like going from place to place to place and, you know, still be okay. But where are you when you wake up one morning and you're 55 years old? So it is sort of like this industry doesn't really take care of its own. And I mean, I personally am trying to change that. I mean, all of my employees get a month off, vacation, paid. They get a 401k. I talk about building wealth and, you know, money marketing.
That's amazing.
And,
that's awesome.
You know, because we have to change this industry and, you know, take care of ourselves, our future selves. And of course, I'm saying that because, yeah, I am 55.
You're at that point, yeah.
Believe me, 40 even, I wasn't thinking about it. I was still badass in it, you know, I can work 15 hours and not get paid, you know, it's like, not now.
No, not anymore.
No.
Gotta get paid.
We all have those bills. Before we go on, what did you pour us? What is this?
Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to bring would be...
Cheers, by the way.
Yes, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is, it is a redbud syrup. Now, these redbuds were foraged off the farm in the spring, and then we make a tincture out of it.
That's delicious.
That is really, really good.
And so what I did was I poured it over wild blackberries. I do kind of like a, you know, your coffee pour over. But cold. Pour it over basically blackberries, overripe blackberries. Yeah. And then what I've added to it is sort of it's almost like it's a botanical. So it's like, I guess the closest thing you could sort of imagine a gin being. So this is called abstinence. And the one in particular is called Cape Citrus, and it's made of orange, lemon, bay leaves, thyme. It's got lots of different things going on.
It really does remind me of gin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't have that heat to it, which, that's kind of how we know alcohol is in something, which
Right.
you kind of get that like.
You get the proof, you get the burn, and
that bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest thing for me to get used to, is that I kind of like that burn, I
Sure.
think, because it's telling my brain like, hey, after this, you're gonna feel
We're gonna have fun.
We're drinking poison.
Oh,
Exactly,
fun.
but I started kind of, going on this sort of journey 4 years ago, and I think what's really encouraged me is the fact that, like, if I go to like a really nice restaurant, they're, and like somebody, they have a wine pairing, but they don't have anything for someone who doesn't drink.
Yeah.
The bartender could make you a mocktail.
Which
And-
usually are way too sweet.
Yeah,
It's like they substitute too much sugar for the alcohol. Yeah.
And I mean, I actually think that's like rapidly changing, which is really great. But, I think again, when you talk about community, you have to also talk about hospitality, and you have to talk about the crossroad between hospitality and inclusion. And that is something that's really important to me, is that there's this, we're glad you're here, but it's like we're only limited in what we can offer you, And so it is basically like, that coming from hospitality into, what I just said is.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Inclusion.
Yeah.
Which is, and
I'm like so profound right now. I'm
No,
just
you're
like,
good.
I'm blowing my own mind.
You're
right
blowing your
now.
own mind over there.
which is a really daunting question and action to take upon, because at Cabin Boys we came out from my head brewer, my wife, who is our president and marketing director, Lisa. So my wife's name is Lisa, and myself walk out of the Craft Brewers Conference in Denver, and our conclusion of the conference was we have to start making different liquids other than beer. And what that is, we don't know necessarily just yet. It could be cider, it could be something non-gluten, it could be mead, it could be seltzer, it could be, I don't know if we're gonna dive into the seltzer world, but, and then obviously a non-alcoholic variety of based liquids, because our slogan is crafted for community, but the basis of what that really means is something different. And we're trying to redefine what that is at the brewery, and it's kind of scary for me because I'm a master brewer. I make beer as a living.
Right.
And so to, have a request of, hey, can you make a beer non-alcoholic? Or can you make something, the weird thing is that's outside of my profession.
To an extent, but I also
but
think there's an opportunity there, because
the opportunity's there. I recognize.
there's Athletic Brewing Company, which I've had, which does
Yeah.
non-alcoholic beers. Actually, Heirloom serves a couple athletic beers.
Yep.
So I mean that it exists, right? Coors Light makes there are big places that make non-alcoholic beer, but the majority of them kind of taste like shit.
Yeah.
So if you can master that, I think the opportunity is there to just explode, right?
Yeah, and of course, and that's where I'm kind of going with. It's like the fear of like, I make a really good product. I think so. And
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But then going into a completely different realm that's I haven't studied it. I haven't really developed talent in that, and then to bring that into fruition, that's a daunting task.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the closest thing I can really relate to is, all the dietary requests that, I have to kind of be adapting to. And, Kat, our baker and pastry chef. She makes amazing bread.
The best bread in Tulsa.
And
I'll say
really,
it,
yeah, I mean, and, you know, we eat gluten-free, you know, that's something that was sort of a hiccup, you know, and she worked on it hard to make gluten-free bread, and it's fabulous, but, you know, it was like, yeah, it didn't come natural.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like gluten-free pasta, that's not really pasta to me.
Sure.
And I think this is how I have to look at this, is that these aren't really beers, you know, I mean, I think
It's a good way to look
I
at
have
it.
to, like, because I really like, although Lincoln told me, that real beer drinkers don't kind of poo-poo IPAs, is that true?
Oh, I
Real-
disagree.
Like real
I
beer
love
connoisseurs,
IPAs.
really, okay,
I don't think so.
But
Okay,
Pilsners
yeah.
and lagers, I feel like, are
Yeah.
the hip, like,
yeah.
anti-establishment, you know,
Man.
but I love them.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she's like,
That's crazy
she
that you
loves
say
sour
lagers and
beers.
pilsners are hip now.
And I feel like it's come full circle, right?
It's coming.
Yeah.
It is. I think we're breaking over.
For a minute, like
Yeah.
hazy IPAs were that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, sour beers.
Sours,
I mean,
yeah.
they don't taste
Yeah.
like beer to me. I mean,
Yep.
at all. I mean, even though I know they're brewed in the, you know, kind of traditional manner, I really don't know shit about it. But
You're fine.
You're talking to the
But-
right person.
but anyway, you know, like, how do we call that a beer? But at the same time, it's sort of like, okay, so I brought a few of these non-alcoholic beers. I don't really want to call them beer. You
Sure.
know, because I don't want to compare, because I'm going to be disappointed.
How do you feel about that? Would you call non-alcoholic beer beer?
Man, yes.
Because I see, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
a mindset. Like, you can't expect, you know, like, you can't eat a gluten-free pasta and expect the same mouthfeel of a regular pasta, the same silky deliciousness of a regular pasta, you know, all the things that, you know, pasta was there. You get like a rice pasta and you're kind of like, there's a little chalkiness to it. Now, it
Right.
isn't that it can't be really good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's apples and oranges
Yeah.
to some degree.
I agree with that.
Maybe with a little, you know, like slice of, you know, some apple in there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right,
Like,
yeah.
there's similarities. But
There's a bridge,
I
but
don't know,
it's,
for me,
yeah.
I have to kind of change my thinking.
Yeah,
Because,
Mm.
like, just like that heat, you know, missing
Right.
that kind of heat, even though, like, I wasn't really, you know, a huge drinker, but you know,
Mhm.
I mean, you become accustomed to a certain expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm not to dive too deep into this, but I will get a little bit existential on that
Please.
question.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. You have to change your mindset if you're drinking something non-alcoholic or a drink that's, you know, deeming itself a non-alcoholic beer or a non-alcoholic cocktail or something like that. You have to change your mindset. But the human race has been drinking beer, quote unquote, for 10,000 years plus. And what those beers were back then were probably, you know, they were sustenance. They were the life of the community and culture, because without it, the humans back then wouldn't have had a healthy living, because they wouldn't be able to consume the water, they wouldn't have been able to consume, you know, something safely. So that's why beer is very synonymous with community and culture. But so going back to that, it's where they weren't necessarily drinking or consuming that beer for alcohol.
Mm.
They knew that if they, you know, fermented this thing for a certain amount of time, it was sour, and, you know, but it gave them a caloric value that withstained what they were doing within the day. Because like the Egyptian beer in the morning was more like porridge. They would almost eat beer rather than drink it. That would sustain them for the rest of the day. And so, you know, that wasn't an alcoholic consumption in their minds, although it probably had 0.5 to 2% alcohol.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
a
wasn't-
really good point.
Yeah, so and they probably had their fancier beers and this, that, and the other. But I think that that's an interesting mindset to think about that kind of consumption and where that product has come from and where it's going, and
I agree.
that relationship with the human race.
And you've each said that it's like a shift in mindset and stuff, and I'm totally okay with this, but I'm actually in a different camp because I don't want to shift my mindset from the standpoint of I'm an inquisitive person and I like trying to find the best of something, right? And so for me, if I'm drinking a non-alcoholic beer, it's to find the best non-alcoholic beer that tastes the most like beer.
Sure.
Like that's just like, or if I'm eating rice pasta, I want to find the person that cooks rice pasta the best so that I can tell myself like, okay, so if this is cooked properly and by an expert, this is what it will taste like. Like it's, how close can it get? Maybe it's its own thing, I'm not sure. But I've always been like that, cooking in the kitchen, trying to learn, asking you about recipes every time I see you, like, oh, what did you put in this and that? And then the same with beer. Like I don't drink, when I drink non-alcoholic beer, which I was telling you guys before we started, I try not to consume alcohol. It doesn't always work because being a business development sales, you got to go out and have drinks sometimes, and it just is what it is. But I try not to drink like Sunday night through Thursday, right?
Yeah.
But I have, sometimes I'll want that flavor. I'll want to taste an IPA, or I'll want, so I have non-alcoholic beer in my refrigerator. And so for me, I don't necessarily think of it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think of it as a shift in mindset as much as I think of it as I'm trying to do something that I feel like is better for my body and help, I sleep better and I do all this stuff, but I still want that taste. So I'm in the market of like, show me the best. I want to know what the best this can be, And so it's just a different way to look at it, right?
I think that there's two avenues to that.
Sure.
I think there's, you go to the deep dive of, I'm going to make a non-alcoholic beverage that tastes like this, and be the best at that. Or I'm going to teach people that this is, a completely different product.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think either's wrong, actually. Tell me what you think about the bourbon. Do you want to smell it and give me your like chef tasting? Let's see if we can. Yeah, you can kind of smell it on the cork. If not, I can pour you a little bit in the glass just to sniff. But I'm curious where your chef mind takes you as far as like a pairing or something, because I get a lot of.
It's been a long time since I've
smelled it. Yeah, like cinnamon and caramel and like.
This is really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
This is really cool.
The burn on this, like you were talking about, it's 101 proof. It's wild turkey. They stayed with the 101, so it's a little. I brought in like 132 and like some stuff that's like really puts hair on your chest. But this one I think is right in my sweet spot. I figured out that I like between 100 and like 115 to like 18 is my spot. Above that, it needs an ice cube, and I'm like, golly, like heartburn and indigestion. Jesus. But this is to me right in that. Right,
this is really good. On the nose, you get a lot of, oh goodness. I had the tasting notes in my
What would you pair it with off the top of your head? Would it be like a dessert, like something sweet?
I mean, it could kind of go either way, because it might, like, this is something that would go with a really nice bowl of mousse too, like pork.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something with some nice fat to it, that kind of brings that caramelization, too. But I mean, I don't see much that it wouldn't, really, especially chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
But I'm pretty naive about, in all honesty, I have no idea.
No, but I think you're right. I'm just curious I love the chef nose in mind, because it's like, sometimes it'll, like I wouldn't have thought of the pork, but then when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be perfect there. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just like wines, where I think the school of thought is like, fish, white wine, meat, red wine, but I mean, there's so many different varieties and different, that it's really about what you love. The wine that you really like is gonna really go with anything, especially if you're in good company. That is always a secret ingredient.
That's true. That's the most important ingredient sometimes. I guess I should ask a question, huh? We've just been sitting here talking.
You were going to ask me a question.
I know, I was.
And I think one of us went on
we got squirreled off on something. I feel like I've said this before, but I always start off my questions in like this weird space because I like to ask people about their fears and about like, and so without ripping the Band-Aid off or like reopening the scab, you mentioned that you just got over kind of the lingering fears or doubts or whatever about a failed venture. What specifically was it that took the longest to get over? Was it that you thought it would be successful and it wasn't, or like where?
Wow, you're going right there.
I am. I'm curious.
I'm up for it.
Okay, good. Because you can say, fuck off. Like I don't want to answer that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it is like really, like it's very personal, but I think that people need to know that they're, like it's okay to feel these things.
Yeah.
Is that I just felt like a failure personally. I felt like I didn't have good judgment, that I made really poor decisions, that, it was all my fault. I opened up a new place too soon, and I was just beating myself up. And also the other thing is that I really fucked up a good thing, because, La Medusa was really, really successful. And it was, Travel and Leisure's top 100 restaurants, it was like we were in the newspaper all the time.
Right.
I mean, constantly. Every night, we had 32 seats and we did 115 covers
That's
almost
amazing.
every night,
Yeah.
we didn't take reservations, it was walk-in only, and we were open 5 to 9 and closed on Sunday and Monday. And I think where I really used to beat myself up was that I felt like, why wasn't that enough for me? Why couldn't I have been satisfied?
You have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Do you know like what people would give for a restaurant that successful? So I really just like hated myself.
That's
and
interesting. Yeah.
So there was just a tremendous amount of shame around it. When you have like an epic $1 million failure, there's all these people that don't get paid.
Yeah.
That is part of the risk. With Medusa, I took out a $75,000 home equity line of credit and had it paid off in 2.5 years.
It's amazing.
And so, of course, I thought, man, I'm like, I had an over sense of confidence.
Yeah, that Midas touch is what you thought, right?
I thought I was
Yeah.
the shit.
Right.
Yeah, I really did.
I would have too. I think anyone would have.
Yeah, I do
right?
not think I'm the shit anymore. I have a real sense of my own humanity,
That's interesting.
And I'm really grateful. To some extent, I think there's this, like, yeah, I'm really grateful that I'm kind of in the place that I'm at. I have a lot of self-knowledge. I'm humble, but at the same time, I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. But if I had it to do over again, are you kidding me? I would just probably still be in Seattle, still rocking that restaurant, and probably relaxing on the beach.
Yeah.
Somewhere. But I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
Anything could happen. I don't know that for sure. But, I think when I, when I started really dealing with it, wasn't really until about 5 years ago.
It probably took some time to
It
unpack
did.
that,
There was
right?
just so much
That's
shame.
heavy stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So much shame, and I really just kind of wanted to disappear. And
Sure.
kind of that's what Oklahoma was for me. It was a way to kind of
Interesting.
disappear.
Yeah.
Left my family where I didn't have to face them. And then finally around 5 years ago, I started thinking, I cannot carry this hate for myself around anymore. Okay, yeah, I can admit, like, maybe I didn't use the best judgment, but shit, man, I was like 25 years old.
You can't.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah.
when you think about it, I was 24 years old when I opened up my first restaurant.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just great, but how my brain, was a 24-year-old brain.
You don't fully develop your brain until what, 27?
I don't
Something
know,
like that,
but
sure.
even I mean, I don't know, I just kind of think like, it's okay. Like, I did those things because I thought that was best.
Yeah.
I, made these decisions based on the tools that I had at the time. And so that came with some therapy and some forgiveness, and it turned my life around. And
That's awesome.
I mean, in some ways, I'm kind of sorry that it took so long, but it
was your journey,
and,
right? It's,
yeah.
I think you are the shit, though. You're
I think many people.
yeah, you're really, really good at what you do. I'm curious, the last follow-up, and then we'll change the topic and we'll get on to more fun things to talk about. How hard was it for you then to pull the trigger on Farmbar?
Oh, it was so easy.
Oh, was it? Okay. Because I was thinking second location, a different thing. It's like,
I
okay.
never thought I would ever have a restaurant again. I was just like, could not even imagine it. And I just kind of started thinking, gosh, the farm's doing really well. Like, we're definitely in demand. If there's going to be a time to do anything for my future, it's got to be now. Now, one thing about the farm is I don't own the farm. It's not mine. I leased
Gotcha.
it from some amazing people who I love dearly. And they're the ones that built the cabin that we do the dinners in, and they have been a huge support for me and Linda. And we're so fortunate to have landed there. But we don't own it, and at any time, anything could happen. We had a lease, of course, everything's going well, but you just never know,
Right.
And I was sort of at that age where I needed to kind of think about the future a little bit, and what would happen, where would I be if something were to happen to, the family that owns it, and they needed to sell it. It's 400 acres, I could never buy it. Especially now, where housing, property prices have gone up. So I started thinking about what I really wanted to do with my time, and I started really enjoying being in Tulsa also. I loved the way that things were sort of advancing, culinarily speaking, in Tulsa. The farmers market, I'd been involved with the farmers market for, since I moved here. But I thought, is it possible to have a restaurant? And at that point, I had forgiven myself, and I kind of felt like I could use those mistakes as tools to help me, maybe not make the same mistakes.
It's all a learning process, right?
But I drove by the old vintage wine bar, which I frequented a lot with
I miss
everybody
that.
else in Tulsa.
I'm glad you're there, but I miss the aesthetic of that place.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I was just in there yesterday thinking like, oh my gosh.
In the new vintage?
Yeah. Just, no, I mean in Farmbar.
Oh, in Farmbar, okay.
Just remembering the vintage vibe, just all the things on the
mismatched
wall.
furniture.
Yes, in the bathroom,
and
it was just a really special place, and I think it will always hold a special place in people, in people's hearts like that. And I think the new vintage is super cool. It's like totally different.
It's like a New York City hotel lobby bar or
doesn't even
something,
feel
right?
like Tulsa.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's interesting. Before you take us to the next question, you want to open a beer, and we can pick a different one to try from your stuff too.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick the Cornerstone Saison.
Should I pass on that?
I do like some cookies.
Because remember the Saison gave me an allergic reaction.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Was that Cornerstone or was that a different one?
It could have been Saison.
I think it was a Saison, but it might have been out of a bottle.
Maybe we'll do this last.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So there's something about Saison and wild beers every once in a while. I had one that Rapture brewed last night that did not trip my allergies. But usually American Solera, wild beers, and Saisons, I start sneezing and I get stuffed up, and it lasts 30 minutes and then I'm fine. And Austin's a couple episodes ago did the same thing.
It might have been the Saison. I honestly was walking out of the brewery and I picked out
Uh-oh, you're okay.
I picked up what I was craving, to
There
be
you
quite
go.
honest.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, I want that.
Ask your question. I'm gonna grab us a towel real quick and you guys keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about the beer that I'm going to pour first. This is Pine Hills, which is really cool. When we were brewing this, we were saying that it was kind of like a winter lager. And the only reason on that is because we chose some hops to dry hop this beer with that would make it taste piney. And
Ooh, I love that.
yeah, so it's got a really crisp and easy drinking body, but also at the same time it has this like definite woodsy, piney. I wouldn't call it sappy flavors, but it has like a honey character to it that really lets this beer explode and gives the vibe of like a winter lager, which is why I was really excited.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Well, I've opened up
What have you opened up over there?
a Surreal Brewing Company, 17 Mile Porter.
Okay.
I've never tried this before. These are all new to me. Have you tried many of these non-alcoholic beers that, I think, what were we just talking about, the local, you're from Oklahoma?
A brewery?
Yeah, Academy? What am I thinking?
Athletic.
Athletic.
Was it that one? Yeah. You were close. You were close.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think they're from Oklahoma, are they?
They're not from Oklahoma, but you can get them here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
It's
thought
actually
you
somewhere
meant
up
that
like
they were-
northeast or
Oh,
somewhere.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, this might be kind of fun for
Absolutely.
you to try.
Cool.
Yeah.
I had to, so I graduated from Duman's Academy in Munich. And in school, they had us drink 4 or 5 different non-alcoholic beers, but
Okay, this kind of tastes like old coffee.
I definitely get coffee and I get like a oats or
Yeah,
like some sort of like an oatmeal-y like.
it's kind of like it got left in the fridge for a while.
Yeah.
sure. But you know what?
It's not bad.
If it's going for a non-alcoholic beer, that's kind of a refreshing porter. It tastes a little bit watery, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't have that thick,
Mm.
creaminess, right? Yeah, you get
interesting.
the coffee. It is kind of coffee-like, isn't it?
Yeah, I do get some coffee for sure.
You know what this would be good is like in a float.
I was thinking that, like put it over some ice
Yeah.
cream or something.
Uh-huh. Right, like that would be kind of neat.
I remember that was the dessert I had the last time I ate at Farmbar.
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah, Kat loves
the
to
float.
do that. Okay, so this is the Groovy Stout.
Oh,
So
okay.
okay.
All right.
Two kind of dark.
Yeah.
That one.
So as you're pouring
I
this,
lost it first. There you go.
you mentioned earlier on in our conversation that you are a shitty farmer, and then you said that the farm is actually doing really well.
This one's better.
Obviously with farming, it is a long and arduous project to take on farming, to raise all of the vegetables and fruits or whatever that you're growing is a long process. It's a sit and wait. Well,
Yeah,
obviously not
right.
your farming is really hard work.
Oh,
It's not, people think, oh yeah, I put a seed in the ground and then I sit on my hands and wait until the next. It's not
And then
necessarily.
We reap the bountiful harvest.
Yeah.
And we have flowers in our hair.
Right. Is that not the way it is?
So what was your?
Right.
What was your journey like from calling yourself a shitty farmer to? I mean, it seems like you said that the farm has come around and is really successful and is supporting the restaurant, and seems like everyone loves what you're producing. So what was that journey Because
I have to tell you that I'm cheating because it's not the farm itself that's successful, it's the fact that we started doing dinners on the farm. So now, I can grow a lot better now, I will just say, I'll give myself
Give
a
yourself
little
credit for
pat.
that.
I can grow some things, right?
you're here.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I am no stranger to a beat. But we started that first year, we started doing dinners out at the farm. So they just took off. They just like went gangbusters. So at first we were just doing it once a month, and that was just paying the feed bill, gas, and then I would sell, $500, $600, $800 worth of produce at the farmer's market. And then the dinners started like way financially outweighing anything that we could have made at the farmer's market. So I finally quit going to the farmer's market and just started growing for the dinners. And so the dinners are Friday and Saturday nights. I mean, again, it did start out just doing like once a month, and it was basically just like, my crack hit so I could go buy more seeds. It was just like keeping
It was feeding
farming.
the-
It was feeding my farming addiction, that I hadn't quite mastered enough to make a complete living off of it.
Sure.
So the dinners were kind of like, supplementing, but then they flipped. Then the dinners started really supplementing the farm, which was, the dinners saved the farm ultimately. Because I could cook. I might not have been able to grow like commercially as much as that, that would have afforded me, like a steady paycheck. So I did know how to cook, which was great because that's just sort of what folks wanted at that time and now. But in 2019, we had our record year. I mean, we were like, once we put like reservations on sale, which were 3 months, it would take 10 minutes for the whole, like we once sold out the entire year in 15 minutes.
I remember that. Because I tried to get some reservations and couldn't. I was like, I went quick.
It tells you really that people are craving community, and of course great food. I mean, they want great food and they want an experience. But it's the whole night. I mean, it's the whole evening. So it's like it's a movie, and it's like, what is it? Dinner and a show. I go out and
tap here, do jig here.
Yeah, I go out. I like to think I'm a comedian, so I might crack some jokes or whatever, which it really upsets me when people don't laugh. But then,
Noted. Always laugh at Lisa.
Yeah, I think I'm really hysterical. But.
That's the best attitude for a comedian.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really what I mean by the farm is successful, is that the dinners really made the farm successful.
Okay.
I think you said the key word though. I think it's, because I was going to follow up to that and ask why you think it took off like gangbusters, the dinners, and I think you said it. I think it's 30 minutes, 35 minutes from?
45.
45 from Tulsa?
Yeah.
And so you feel like you're going somewhere not normal, right?
Yeah.
But I think the E word, I think the experience, I think that's what you guys did a really good job of crafting a really cool and unique experience that you just, unless you own a farm, you can't really get that feeling.
Yeah, and I think, when I say like, it's a whole evening, we do the farm tour and then everybody goes up to the cabin and has dinner. But, it's really evolved over time. I think that there are two groups of people that probably get the most out of the experience, and that is someone who has never been on a farm before, and the other is the people who have grown up on a farm and moved off the farm and now live in the city. But they have childhood memories.
It's like that escape back to,
They're so nostalgic. I mean, it really sometimes brings tears to my eyes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's so really wonderful to talk to someone, that grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, milked cows, before they ran to catch the school bus,
Yeah.
and hearing those stories just really, it's pretty cool.
Can you remember the weirdest question you've been asked on the farm? Like from somebody on the farm tour, did someone ask you something sometime that just resonates in your mind as like the craziest question you've ever gotten?
Ooh, gosh.
And it's okay if the answer is no. I'm just curious. Like, I didn't know if there was one person that just like.
I get a lot of weird questions. I just can't decide on one. Well, okay, so one of the weird questions, and it's not really weird, it's just very, okay, so my hay guy, it took me under his wing a long time ago. So he cuts all our hay for us, brings it over, takes really good care of me, and has for many years. And he told me once, he was teaching me farm etiquette, and he said, never ask, a rancher how many head of cow they have. It's like asking them what's in their bank account.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it is.
That's a great
Right?
point. Yeah.
And I was like, really? Okay, I'll stop doing that.
Could you? Whoops.
So, of course, we used to raise sheep, and even though sheep are nowhere, near the equivalent financially as cows are, a lot of people would ask me, how many sheep do you have? And of course, like, what is the big deal? I've got 150 sheep. And then I would like back it up and like, so now you know it's in my bank account, but there you go. So sometimes my humor falls flat.
Right. I can't tell you congratulations, you're the first person I've met that has a hay guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't talk to enough farmers about it. But like,
don't know.
first person I know that has a hay guy. It's my turn for a question.
It is.
So I'm alluded to it earlier, but you were nominated for the James Beard Award. So 50 times over, congratulations for that. Where were you when you found out, and how does that go? How do they let you know? How's that whole process?
I was actually on my way to the restaurant to scream at my contractor.
This is when Farmbar was being built? Okay.
Yeah, I was in Oklahoma City, and I got some bad news, and about like, because it took a whole over a year.
Took a while, yeah.
Yeah, over a year, and I got like 3 months free rent, but then I was having to pay for it, and apparently there's just like no one there for like a week, and so I just of course it was COVID, there was plenty of excuses, but I just kind of was blowing my fuse a little, and so Linda was driving back from Oklahoma City, and we were gonna go home, and I was gonna go straight to the restaurant. And I was just like fuming. I just remember this so much because I think like when you get knocked from like being super angry to being like extremely like happy, it's
That's
like it does something to your
weird
brain.
shift of pendulum swing there.
Yeah, so my friend Colin, who at the time was the chef and founder of None Such, texted me.
Yes, yeah.
And he says, congratulations on the James Beard. And I was like, no, he just said congratulations. And I was like, for what? And he was like, and they texted me the Eater, article. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was just like freaking out. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Was that your first ever nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Because you said you're in the news a lot for Seattle. I didn't know if.
Yeah, no, just like, random paper stuff, like, what's the nomination?
Sure. And for those that don't know, that are listening or watching, how would you describe the James Beard Award, and how would you compare it to like the Michelin star stuff and all that? Like how do they live in the same sphere in your mind, or?
To some degree, yes. I mean, it's really telling you you're doing a good job. I mean, both of them are. I think James Beard is more like organic. I think basically you can just be anyone, a normal person, and get a James Beard just on, your contribution to, the food service and, all the different categories that they have. And the Michelin star is really about being super intentional about getting a Michelin star.
You have to try.
Yeah, it's a huge investment of money because, there's criteria, although that is, maybe hopefully kind of changing a little just as James Beard Foundation is changing. Like you can't get a Michelin star in Oklahoma. They only have certain regions that they are in. So, but I mean, I think that if we could get a Michelin star, I would totally probably make the effort to do that.
Of course, yeah.
I think it's worth it. Although, I have heard stories about it, just like the amount of stress that it causes. So, I mean, if you have someone from Michelin come in and you have a bad night, I mean, that server is pretty much like done for.
And you can lose a star, right?
You can, and that is like, I mean, yeah. Apparently that's pretty bad.
That would not be good for business,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So, James Beard, you can totally live without a James Beard nomination and do really well. I think it's just like a real good affirmation. I mean, for me, it was like, oh my God, thank you. It's like affirming that I'm here, I'm here, and it just felt really gratifying.
I don't know this, so I'll ask, and if I'm forgetting someone or don't know, I apologize in advance. Were you the first female chef to be nominated in Oklahoma for James Beard Award?
Well, actually, there has only been 3 chefs nominated, and that was the same year. And
oh, wow.
So yes, I am the only
Congratulations.
Yeah. The other 2 are also really amazing people. Kevin Snell, who used to
I love Kevin to death.
Yes. And then Jeff, I'm not thinking of his last name right now, but he's in Oklahoma City. And
I was trying to think of his restaurant. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. And so that was actually the first year Oklahoma was even on the books. So that was really cool. So
we're
that
sitting
tells
here
you,
with chef royalty. I mean, this is awesome.
It tells you how much Oklahoma has grown. I mean, it's probably, I'm great, I'll take it for sure, but I know that there's a lot of other chefs that are equally as good, if not better. Of course, let me just say, I'm like really good, okay?
But on that note,
I don't think you get nominated.
On that note, I'm the most humble person. But whose food do you like to eat? Who intrigues you and who inspires you around town?
I do. Well, let's see, in Tulsa.
Or you could say Oklahoma City, or really anywhere, but here locally for sure.
I like to go to Nonesuch.
Yeah.
I like multi-course dining experiences. I mean, that's kind of like my interest. I like that kind of dining. Because I just kind of like to experience a lot of different flavors, and like if I go to a normal restaurant, I end up ordering half the menu. I mean, because I just like I'm a very indulgent person. I'm kind of like all or nothing, trying to maybe temper that a little bit. But
that's why I like Restaurant Basque downtown, because it's the Spanish style tapas, like smaller plates, and you can order off the menu.
And I honestly, I've been trying to stay out of places only because I don't want to close the restaurant down if I get COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think even like my whole staff has been, we're probably working at like our normal go out and eat kind of thing. We're probably down to a quarter of what we normally do, because we just like if one of us gets sick, it kind of shuts the whole operation down.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of pressure put on restaurant people.
It really is.
Yes.
I mean, it's the loss of tips, it's the loss of income. It's sort of really kind of drag. But I love Orrin. That's probably one of my favorite places because I love what he does with vegetables, and I think that's really fun.
What I love about, and I'll let you, I promise you, we can ask you the last question here in a second, but just as a statement, what I love about, maybe it's the entire food industry, I'm not sure, but I know for sure here in Tulsa, is that like when I was helping you guys out at American Solera every once in a while, like I learned like 3 or 4 different recipes just by asking. And I went to eat at Oren for brunch once, and I sent Matt a Facebook message afterwards, and I was like, this is the best, I don't remember what it was, but maybe hummus. I was like, this is some of the best hummus like I've ever had. And he's like, oh great, I appreciate that, and sent me the entire recipe,
Whoa.
how to cook it, how to do it, and like, where
That's
else
awesome.
does that happen? It's
Oh, man, that
it's
is-
such a cool community though, and I think
Yeah.
here especially, like everyone is just so damn nice that
Yeah.
it's just really. I'm sure there are assholes, and I'm sure there's rivals, and I'm sure not everybody is that way.
Yeah.
But at least in those two examples, like I just love the industry. It's just really good people.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of getting my feet wet and just starting to get to know people. Even though we've been doing dinners out on the farm, I don't think that, we were really looked at as like a real restaurant, before we opened up Farmbar. So I'm still kind of like, luckily, like my crew in the kitchen, they know people, and they know the community.
You put together a good crew. Yeah.
Which is really fun. But I kind of feel a little green, that I just don't really know a lot of people yet. I'm just sort of, dipping my toes. And
It's funny because so many people know you, right? Or know your food, love you, know what you're doing. It's just funny to hear that.
I mean, there's like people I want to know. Like, I love Matt. I'd love to spend more time with Matt. I'd like to, like really kind of reach out. I think in Seattle, I think the community in Tulsa is pretty tight. I think a lot of people sort of, who are from here sort of have recycled through multiple restaurants, so they kind of know each other. And it was like that in Seattle too. And, I kind of miss that sort of, that just kind of knowing people, and just like going into a restaurant and, knowing half the people that work there. And that's not me, but I guess in some ways it's kind of nice because, I also don't know like their baggage.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is anytime I go to a restaurant, someone's going to know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Someone's going to know me.
And Tulsa is also.
I have to always behave.
It's a small big town, or a big small town, whatever you
It
call
is
it.
a big small town,
Yeah.
and I love that so
Mhm.
much, and I totally, oh man, I
much
love
do that?
coming into Tulsa, and like I got a bicycle, and riding the trails, and you just don't do that kind of stuff out in DPU.
Fair.
People kind of drive by and they look at you like, are you trying to rob us? Yeah, on my bike, I'm driving through town, just,
You need to
The
get
worst criminal ever.
Yeah, well, that's so true, right. The one time I did ride my horse to the PDQ, no one batted an eye.
What kind of horse do you
That's
have?
awesome.
Well, I have two Mustangs
Okay.
and a new one. It's like, Linda knows the name of it. It's like a little
A prancing trotter horse. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
something like that, but
That's
yeah.
cool.
Mhm. I kind of inherited them from my neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah, they're sweet. I've always wanted horses, and now I have them, but now I have no time to ride them.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a lot to keep up with?
No, they're super easy.
Right on.
Yeah, they're just super gentle. They want to be loved on, and I gotta make sure they're okay, or they like to go wandering.
Did you learn how to horseshoe, or do you have someone come out?
No,
to,
I have
okay.
I don't use horseshoes.
Okay,
Or,
okay.
Yeah.
I've always wondered I kind of understand the concept of horseshoes, but they're just like wearing shoes, aren't they?
I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah, they're to protect the frog.
Okay.
That's, the tender part in the horse. So if they're like walking on, cement, it's just kind of a barrier. And,
Oh yeah.
and then, their hooves are sort of soft and they can crack, and it kind of prevents it if you do it correctly.
Right.
But the idea is that if you have good hoof care, then you actually don't need to.
That
You
makes
probably
sense.
wouldn't want to walk them on cement though,
Sure.
Before your last question, we have a lot of bottles left. Do you want to
Yeah.
sample
Well,
anything
And we
else?
have cookies.
And we have cookies.
Oh, I know, eat
know.
some of these cookies. So
Okay.
these are cornmeal cookies.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so this looks kind of interesting. Okay, so this is a non-alcoholic spirit called Harmony. It has juniper, rhubarb, eucalyptus, bitter orange, green cardamom, chamomile, fennel, lots of other things.
So the entire kitchen.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what is most kind of confusing about these is that there's so many ingredients. So it's like, but I don't know, like how many ingredients are in
What is it trying to emulate?
a digestive?
Okay.
Something
okay.
bitter, kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
more of a. So let's see.
These cookies are amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Don't sound so surprised. It's okay.
And very weird.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Kind of funky.
Yeah, okay, so
Okay.
this might be, it's cloudy.
It
It's
is.
kind
Oh,
of
it's very cloudy.
brown colored.
Kind of like mud water.
kind
No
of
offense to the
water,
person that made it.
Right? No, it's,
Ooh, it
yeah.
does have that.
it's-
Whoa! What am I smelling? Like almost
It's really-
Jaeger, like a
yeah.
spearminty, like.
Yeah, I get
licorice
the
or something,
Licorice,
yeah.
minty.
It also has like a very strong, like kind of potpourri.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what I get on the palate too.
Licorice.
Is
There's
it-
a lot going on.
Yeah.
Lots of licorice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this might be kind of interesting to do with,
It's a lot thinner on the mouth
Mhm.
than I
it is
was
like, looks
expecting.
really thick. But, so I don't know if I would do like, cut it with like
Whoa.
juice or mineral water, but it definitely, I don't know that I would wanna hit it straight.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm trying to
I
think.
think
You
when
can
I
mix
think
this
about
with like
pairing.
sweet tea or something.
Yeah.
Give it a kick.
Yeah, I kind of think like with pairing, with food, it definitely would like kind of go along with something else, but. I'll have
I
to
always
think
go
about
back.
that.
It'd be like a pecan pie.
This is
Yeah.
the second time I've thought about
Actually,
dessert
it's like
with
a
this.
pecan.
But yeah,
It
Yeah.
really does, that's so wild,
Yeah.
right?
it's the second time I've went to dessert in my head with one
Yeah.
of these drinks. But yeah.
Well, and I think that that's really the challenge for me because I do the non-program at Farmbar, is trying not to have like too heavy, like what I really go for is some clear, like I love the clarity. So I made a shrub out of cantaloupe. So this was from the summer. I froze some cantaloupe and then I just kind of let it ferment with some apple cider vinegar, a little bit of sugar, and then I strained it, but I didn't puree it. It was just sliced and it sat there for 2 weeks, and it was phenomenal. It had a little teeny bit of funkiness to it. It had a tiny bit of sweetness, but it wasn't sugary, and I think that's the biggest challenge, I think, with doing like a non-program is not to have it overwhelmingly sweet,
Yeah.
simple syrup. Because, to some degree, like with alcohol, you're getting a lot of, you're kind of getting, your body's making a lot of sugar, out of it. And so with the non-pairing, I mean, you are gonna drink a lot of sugar if, you're just having juice. So it's a way, I try to figure out a way that I can like not do that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a fun journey. I don't use a lot of these kind of mixers. I try to just kind of do like natural sort of shrubs and, light juices. I strain them like 3 times so they kind of have a lot of clarity. Some kvases, that kind of thing.
That's a unique. That was one of the most unique things I've had.
Yeah.
In a while.
Yeah.
Also, this cookie is really good.
I can't get over the cookies. Yeah. So you have a final question here, buddy.
So being removed, just a little bit, from Tulsa, which I grew up quasi on a farm. So I grew up in Broken Arrow, and then I moved out to Claremore on 70 acres when I was a preteen. So I had a 4-wheeler and a 22 and a 410 to go shoot squirrels,
Yeah.
get in trouble.
You just all of a sudden sounded real country.
I can go there pretty quick if I don't watch it.
Right.
The through line there is you can romanticize it as much as you want, because the farm life out in the rural area is really, really cool. I love it very dearly. But to people that are coming into Tulsa and really finding out what you're doing out on your farm and at your restaurant for dinners, how do you see that correlation between the two and what you're going to present to people? Like, you're bringing them into a world that they're not used to.
Yeah.
People that didn't grow up on a farm, we're getting a lot of people from California, New York, Colorado, or Denver, places that you would be grown up in a metropolis. So that relationship has to be intrinsically interesting to see them come into your place, because you got the James Beard Award or a nomination, and you're known as a wonderful chef. So you're going to pull those people in from all over, from Oklahoma City and Tulsa. That's going to be an interesting conversation. So what has it been like with that experience from, you've come from Seattle to Oklahoma and experienced that yourself. So communicating that, what has that been like?
Well, it's been kind of a responsibility. I recognized that immediately when we started this, is that people, well, first of all, you have what you just said, but then I want you to add prepay.
Right.
Okay. And then you're going to sit at a table that you don't know anybody, right?
Right.
So people who do make the leap, they are prepaying. And it's, it's like $120,
Sure.
So it's a commitment, and they show up and they are extremely vulnerable. You can just see it on them. They drive up this janky, gravel road, and
Which might be the first.
There's, yeah, you should see some of the cars that come up.
Don't bring that Audi out here, just rent a truck for the day.
Exactly. And I recognize that they're really vulnerable, and so as a team, we have taken custody of their time.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
a
have
great way to look
we have to be on the ball. We have to really make sure that we introduce people to each other. So my partner Linda is amazing with names. She can meet you one time and she will remember your name for years and years and years.
I envy that so
much.
Oh, me too. But it's her superpower. It truly is. And she can put two people next to each other that don't know each other, and they will exchange phone numbers at the end of the night. It is
That's awesome.
it is so amazing. But the biggest thing is that people feel taken care of. So they feel like they're not going to get injured. They're not going to get
Kidnapped
killed by a coyote.
Coyotes are scared of you.
Because honestly, there is a little bit of adventurism, but then there's am I gonna hate this? Oh, and then not to mention, I never tell people what the menu is.
That's my favorite
Oh,
part.
that's
about
so
the whole
cool.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can't make me. I want to know if they're vegetarian or vegan or
Sure.
gluten-free, or they have an allergy. But other than that,
You give them if I remember right, you give them a vague direction that you're going in from like a seasonal type thing,
well,
right?
okay, so the farm we do themes.
Right.
So we'll do
Right.
like the heirloom tomato dinner.
Oh, were you talking more at Farmbar too, like where
Yeah.
you don't tell them the menu? Yeah.
Well, right, at the farm for sure, we just do the themes. At Farmbar, we don't do names.
Right.
We just,
Right.
that is like, yeah, and the menu at Farmbar changes all the time. So we really can't post a menu, because it can change like tomorrow,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, so I think it's a matter of really just, you know, taking care of people, making sure that they feel cared for. That we're gonna make sure, like, we have all the first aid.
You have that hey guy on speed dial and be like, we need
Yeah.
hands, get over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust us, we have the
Well,
leafy.
you know, most of it is dealing with their discomfort of sitting at a table with people they don't know. And, you know, how.
I love that though. That's
Oh,
right
I
up my
do
alley.
too.
Like I just love that. I love making friends.
I do too, but, you know, it can
Not
be
everyone's
awkward.
not
you
everyone's
know?
the same way.
Right, it can be awkward, so it takes like our staff to take that awkwardness away, to put everyone at ease, to just kind of make it a real fun night. Of course, the environment is stunning. I mean, the cabin is in the woods, so the back porch is in the woods, so it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's really pretty. You hear all the animal sounds. One time a possum came on the porch. That was really exciting for everyone.
During dinner?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
just like wandered right up the stairs.
Did you make a joke out of that when you brought the next course up?
Pretty much.
'Cause you should've.
Yeah. I mean, I
Here
don't know,
was the
sometimes
possum.
I just think if I ignore it, they won't notice. But you know, it has its challenges too. You know, I mean, the cabin definitely is wonderful, but there's a lot of upkeep and there's a lot of challenges too, keeping the wildlife out and, you know,
Yeah.
all the, you know, things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna I don't know if you want to drink the Saison, because I think that you did sneeze for about 30 minutes.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, I'll pass. I still have some pills left. So
Yeah, and if you want another one, you can
I
go
appreciate
for
that.
it. Yeah. But I'm going to have one
Do it,
because to go off of what you're talking about. So our namesake at Cabin Boys Brewery comes from a cabin that my dad and I and a friend built together out on my parents' property. And so I get that. I hear your yearning to try and just describe the beauty that surrounds that cabin and what that means to you. I really understand the depth of what that statement is. And because, yeah, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of keep. And we have to, you know, seal the cabin at least once every 3 years over again. You gotta build the stairs again. You gotta prevent it from rotting out or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So ours is probably not as up to date as yours, maybe, but maybe not. Ours is literally a log cabin that we put together with literal trees that we cut down ourselves.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the family, the Oakleys who built the cabin, I mean, they did an amazing job. And, you know, I feel like I'm, you know, just trying to keep it, you know, good. But I've replaced all of the plumbing, a lot of the electrical is new. A lot of the things that I've done for upkeep are things that you can't see.
Right.
But we don't have heating or air conditioning other than a wood burning stove and a huge hearth. So when you're doing dinners in the winter, what we do is we put plastic around the porch, around the screen on the porch, and then we have a few blue flame heaters out there and blankets, which is really nice. But that is like, I mean, and Linda and I used to cut the wood, all the wood.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I mean, now there's no way. I'm probably going to get a chainsaw started at this point, but no, we buy, you know,
Buy the wood, yeah.
But still, we gotta stack it and, you know, make the fires and make sure, you know, everything is. I mean, I think like a lot of people that come to the dinners, I don't want them to know all the work that we put into doing them, but it is a lot of work.
It probably, you know, if I go to a place like that and someone that really knows what's going on, they see that kind of thing. They might not spell it out to you, but I know in the back of their brain, they're calculating how much work went into that one event.
Yeah.
So you probably have hosted more people than you know that really understand.
Well, everybody wants to live there, and then I have to tell them, no, you don't.
You really
No.
I don't think you can't, you know. I'll tell you why, you know, it's like, no, really, tell me the truth. You can't handle the truth. But yeah, it's just
Great
like the wood, you know, really making fires. It's like, I feel like I'm an expert fire maker, because also we live on a yurt on the property. On the 400 acres.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
So we do have electricity now, but for many years we didn't, and it was just like I plumbed like one cold water.
Wow.
And so we had water, a little bit of water outside, you know, and that was about it. And we had an extension cord that would run a light, and that was it. And a few years ago, I built like an addition, so now, you know, I hired an electrician to come, but I did it all myself. The electrician came out just to make sure I wasn't gonna like burn us down.
So do you define yourself as an Okie now?
I don't know. I mean, I've been here.
You're getting
almost,
close
like,
to that description.
You're getting close.
I know, right? I hope so. I want to.
You've lived more of the Okie life than a lot of people
I have.
Yeah. And if you want to know the truth, I went back to Seattle for Thanksgiving, and when I came back, I mean, I was really happy to come back. I mean, I just I love it here. You know, I really like it here. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know if you can call yourself that as a transplant.
We'll call you an Okie.
Yeah. I don't know the etiquette for that,
Right.
I'm just doing my thing, because, you know,
I love
living
that.
on Tulsa time.
There it is.
I told my wife, so she's a transplant from Chicago.
Okay.
And I told her once she lived here for 7 years, she can call herself an Okie. And
I think that's fair.
And, you know, I've heard a little bit more of a draw come out of her mouth. Not much.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But a little bit.
I use y'all so much.
There it is.
I go home and they're like, what is coming out of your mouth? You know, I'm like,
What is that
you guys
word?
need to pick it up. It's really versatile.
It means so many things.
It does. It's an important, yeah.
So there's like 4 things I want to ask you that I'm going to try to like just part them off in like to
you're
one
gonna
question.
do
I
awesome.
know what. I mean, yeah, I've just thought of all these things. Before I do, is there one other thing you want to try, or are you
Are
good?
you guys interested? I'm good. I think we've had.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm liquided out. What were these that you brought?
I have no idea.
I did want
Emily.
more cookies.
Okay.
Yeah, you must eat all those cookies. I'm gonna leave those with you.
Interesting.
So.
Ooh, thank you for that.
Yeah, so I went to Ranch Acres because Emily is carrying
Emily's the
a
best.
lot
Yeah.
of amazing noms. So and those are new. So
That's
she was.
Well, shout out to her. It's really cool. She's coming up on her year anniversary of alcohol free.
Yeah.
And so it's really, I feel like it's really unique to see a liquor store owner that is in that world, but then also, I mean, like a whole shelf is non-alcoholic cocktails or beers or whatever. It's really cool.
Well, she has a certain. I mean, her skills just grew. You know, tenfold because you know she already has like all the wine knowledge and all the liquor knowledge. Now she just opened it up to even more knowledge, which is amazing for her.
It really is. All right, I'm gonna first with my 4-part question. Which of your tattoos means the most to you?
Oh, I love them all equally. No, I think my beat, this one.
That's
here,
really cool.
It's a golden beat. It covers my forearm.
What's behind it?
Nasturtium flowers.
Cool.
And nasturtiums are my favorite flower.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But then I have also a little P
Oh, that's cool.
And this is in honor of my very close friend, Lisa Becklund, 3 P's and Pod. So
There you go.
she kept telling me, you don't have me on there.
So you got that taken care of.
Yeah, I got some P's, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, part 2. You mentioned how often the menu can change at Farmbar.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process for someone for getting a new dish on the menu? Like, what's that creative process? You know, if Austin makes it,
Yeah.
how many people have to taste it, approve it? Like, what's the process of changing the menu?
Yeah, it has to make sense. I mean, there has to be a why. First, it has to prove that it's been kind of raised in Oklahoma, or at least very close by. Like, we would use like rice from Missouri. You know, most of our produce and meat is from Oklahoma, but occasionally if we want to have like rice or, you know, another kind of grain, we might have to use like a regional sort of like Texas or Missouri or Kansas. So the first step is that we have an outline of how we want our menu to look. Okay, so we think that my philosophy around a tasting menu is that when you sit down, if you've gone to a lot of tasting menus and you've had an experience where you haven't gotten enough to eat, that is going to stay with you forever. So a lot of people aren't sure if they're going to get enough to eat. So you give them the first course, and that needs to be sort of substantial. It needs to have fat. It needs to kind of put, well, it's like that first drink.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like where, you know, your eyebrows unfurrow, right? So that's gotta be the first course. Has to be.
You're then relaxed and you're
relaxed.
not worried anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. It has to be that, and then you go into something lighter. You know, so then that would be when they're. So right now, what we love is we love to have like a few snacks. So we have like a custard, and then we might have something that has a vegetable in it. Or a couple of things with vegetable in it, and it has to be a little bit substantial, but not fill you up. You know, you want to be able to have like a couple of bites of it and want more. And then the next course is going to be like a little lighter, and then it's going to kind of weave in between heavy, light. As far as like the third or fourth course is generally the bread, and that is sandwiched by like a pasta or, you know, a protein. So in between that. So, you know, basically just has to prove its worthiness, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a menu meeting every week. We look at the ingredients that we have. A lot of, like right now, we have a freezer full of like greens and things that we froze from the summer. So tomatoes, for example, we have a lot of tomato sauce, whole tomatoes that we just like blanched and froze. So I know that's gonna go on the menu. We made sausage, Austin made some sausage, so that's, you know, so we're gonna look at things like that, and then we're just gonna see kind of where they fit and if it all makes sense together, because, you know, we don't want anything, we want the whole menu to be a whole piece, you know? So the whole menu kind of has to flow together. What I generally don't do is, you know, I'm not abstract when, you know, I want to go to France and, you know, Spain and then Japan and, you know, Japan, sorry, I didn't say it like that.
Nippon.
You know, I'm not really looking to like travel around the world as much as I am.
That's
like,
fair.
how can I take these vegetables or, you know, this meat, and how can I bring the best out of them? You know, so everybody makes a contribution to the menu. We kind of just hash it out, and we have like, you know, our pads of paper or whiteboard, and, you know, we start thinking about it. We want people to, I mean, our hope and dream, you know, I mean, my goal is that, like, when somebody leaves the restaurant, they're like, wow, that was freaking incredible. When they leave the farm, what we want them to say is, can you believe we did that?
Yeah.
that we got to do that, you know? So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, you have being chef owner. Like, have you ever had to crush someone's dreams of being
All the time.
it's a great dish, but
all the time.
not
But
right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really try not to shut people down
Sure,
because I feel like we all have to go at it as, you know, like we're all really trying hard, you know, and we're all really talented too. But sometimes, you know, you have to look at the execution. Like, okay, so this idea seems good in your head, but can we pull it off? Like, can we pull it off? I mean, what is the prep like? You know, how many pieces of this? And then as far as service goes, like, can we actually do it without it putting the whole menu behind? You know, will it take like 20 minutes to plate something up, you know?
Yep.
Is it something we can do ahead of time? Do we have to do it right now? Is it
So
easy
many
on the
things to
stove?
think about.
We have a
Yeah.
tiny kitchen, you know, which is great, but our kitchen is really small. And so, you know, the square footage is like, you know, important. So it's like, if you have a menu item, it can't take up the whole kitchen.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we do a 2.5?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I
know I'm out of the question.
No, it's okay. I'll allow this.
The burning thought in my brain, especially with your restaurant, I have wanted so badly for a chef to make wild game of Oklahoma.
Yeah, and you know why that's hard, right?
I know why that's hard. Like having, you know, deer or wild boar or something made. I've never had a dish made professionally of that kind of meat. I've cooked it myself, I've harvested it myself, and I love doing that. And I can just envision having a great, maybe we just have to have it off the books. But
yeah, which is what we used to do at the farm.
Yeah.
I used to trade my neighbor, who lived fairly close by. I don't actually really know where they lived, but we traded them beef for deer.
Oh, that's cool.
And believe me, I would be all over that. But all our meat has to be USDA.
Right.
Has to go through a USDA processor. So it's like, yeah, and then, you know, we have to have more than one deer, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
But
Oh, of
I
course,
mean,
yeah.
if you wanna make that happen, can I be the
Okay.
first one to prepare that for you?
Yeah, so
That'd be great,
Oklahoma, federal government, please allow us to get this creative.
Please fix this.
I mean, I
Please
don't know
fix
if
it.
it's just a matter of.
It's not dangerous.
I was thinking about that recently. I wonder, like, if you can just take your deer to like a processor.
Yeah.
Normal processor, but they're USDA, you know, like, hey, I mean, they probably would charge like an arm and a
It
leg.
might not work.
Sorry.
It'd be a-
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
It'd be a hoof and a leg. But I you know, I make deer, I make a wonderful South African dish, actually.
What are you making at the? Okay, so I was going to tell you about
Go
this,
for
and
it.
I might as well do it now. So every 10th, or after every 10th episode, we're doing a special episode at the cabin where we invite all 10, whoever can make it.
Maybe not your cabin, but
Right.
our
Yeah,
His
your
cabin.
cabin.
Yeah.
But so like we'll have a few chefs out there that are going to want to cook things, and then we'll bring non-alcoholic drinks and sit by the fire and just chat for a little bit. So you're more than welcome to come. We'll let you know the date.
Yeah,
Still
right on.
being determined, but I know you're about to open back up, so it might be difficult, but we'll see if we can make it work. But go ahead and continue now. You were talking about you prepared all that. I was going to ask you if you're going to cook some of it.
I think I will prepare. So it's called poiki, if you've never heard of it.
Okay, no.
It's a South African dish made in a cauldron pot, and it's a layered stew, and it starts with an onion base so that the meat doesn't sear and cook too hard. But anyways, it's a layered stew with all sorts of different stuff. I will be making
hungry
that.
now. Yeah.
And it's all, the broth is all made by wine or
That's
beer
awesome.
or whatever. So, I've always wondered that, and the barriers of why wild game is such a faux pas. I
I
want that.
really think it's the only thing is the USDA processor.
Yeah.
to make it legal to serve in restaurants or resale.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. So somebody get on that.
Let's figure it out.
All right, we're almost to the finish line. Part 3. Where are you getting your inspiration from right now? Like, what's inspiring you?
Right now, nothing quite yet. I'm
No?
kind of
You're
like,
getting back into
I'm
the-
kind of getting back into it.
Yeah.
I've actually been trying not to think about it.
Ooh, nice.
So I've been really trying to give my brain a break.
Take a little mental vacation. Yeah.
That's all I think about. Like, I'm always just putting food together. But, as far as like other chefs and other restaurants, I really find myself, I know Noma is an amazing place, but and I would love to go there, but I don't necessarily know that I want to try to replicate anything that they do. I think they're on an island all by themselves doing like such amazing things. But I do get a lot of inspiration from Danish chefs in restaurants in Denmark, and I think I really love kind of that Nordic sort of the cleanness of, the two cuisines that I probably love the most is Japanese and Nordic.
Interesting.
They're both very clean flavors, very straightforward, not, I don't have anything against gravy, but I'm just like.
You're about to have a chicken fried steak now. You can't have anything against gravy.
So the dish that I was talking about,
Yeah.
the poiki kos is the actual dish. That's Dutch.
Okay.
It was made by the Dutch in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Or invented by.
Yeah.
So you're speaking right up now.
Yeah. So when I think about it, I do, what really does give me inspiration is I think about like blue skies and salty air and, and then I start kind of bringing things into that. Like I have a beat.
That's interesting.
And I contemplate it. It sounds so.
So for you,
It doesn't sound ridiculous.
But for you, like the cooking part, like the inspiration when it comes to the cooking isn't necessarily, oh, I saw this person make this dish or whatever. It's more naturistic. Is that a word?
Yeah,
Or like,
but sometimes it is. Sometimes I see something like there's a restaurant that I love to like creep on their Instagram, and that's Rustic Canyon. And I just like love what I've never been there. Hannah's actually went
Really?
last night, who's
Oh, I saw her post about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, if you're going to LA, I need you to go there. Here's my credit card.
That's awesome.
But I do love like looking through Instagram and getting ideas. I love that Instagram is there for us, to kind of see what other people are doing in the world. It's just like, as culinarians, it just opened up like our world, which is so great, and learning how to make things that maybe we would never have the opportunity to learn how to make. But yeah, I would say that my way of coming up with a menu is a contemplative process. I think about it a lot. I imagine myself sitting at the table, eating it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's the way it should be, I think. That's awesome. All right, last one. We'll let you either get back home or to the restaurant or wherever you're going after this. You mentioned that this was the first time Oklahoma had James Beard nominees, and
Yes.
it showed the progression in the state. Maybe in Tulsa in specific, but maybe not. Maybe Oklahoma as a state or even this region. Where do you see that? What is that next step?
Next step to getting like more attention, more kind
That
of
or just establishing a certain culture or a certain identity when it comes to maybe the food scene, or I don't know.
Well,
Take that wherever you want.
I think that going back to Instagram, I think that has kind of helped sort of open people up to other ways of seeing food, where it's not just through like a very small lens. I think that people coming in I think our problem here in Tulsa, is that we, as restaurants, and I recognized this immediately when I moved here, that we cannibalize the same people, right? So the same people that are going to like Amelia's are going to go to Bosque, are going to go to the Tavern. I mean, we're just like cycling through people. Where in Seattle,
Great point.
there is a massive population there. And so restaurants are a little like here's the thing. Here you can stay open even if you're a shitty restaurant. You can stay open for a really long time. But in Seattle, if you're a shitty restaurant, you don't make it. You have to close within like a year or 2 years. And so I think that's been good for people in Oklahoma in the restaurant business because there hasn't been a real transient restaurant scene. So there's been some like hardcore like lifers, you know. I mean, think about Biga, you know.
Right.
I mean, you know, I have all the respect for, like, if you can keep a restaurant around, man, you have me, you know. I'm just like, I think I'm amazed by that. But the population density isn't what it needs to be in order for the restaurant industry to really, really thrive. Because right now I kind of feel like we're all kind of hustling for the same dollars, you know what I mean? And
To churn.
Kind of, yeah. And it forces us to be competitive with each other rather than with ourselves. So, and that's where I really try, I try to focus on competing with myself and not really paying attention to anything else that's going on because, you know, I don't want to be like, oh my God, they're doing a wine dinner shit, you know. I don't want to spend.
You don't want to be
energy.
reactionary.
No, I can't.
Right.
That is the biggest way to kill creativity right there.
That
Is
sounds
comparing.
like a whole other podcast.
I mean,
Comparing
honestly.
yourself, right? Yeah. Comparing yourself is exactly how to cut your creativity. I mean, 100%. So, but I welcome people from California that want to come here and spend their money. And, you know, I mean, I'm a business person. So, you know, and also I'm not from here. So I don't have any like ownership, like you can't come to my town.
Right. Tulsa. No.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I want the money to come into town so everybody can kind of relax a little bit. And I mean, you know, COVID, I mean, it helped as many people as it hurt in the restaurant business because some restaurants didn't make it, but some actually were able to stay open because of grants, because of PPP. So, you know, to some degree, you know, COVID maybe helped some restaurants that might have failed, and then, of course, the ones, you know, that didn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, any restaurant downtown, I mean, wow. Like, that's rough. When I opened up Farmbar, I wanted to be in a neighborhood.
Smart. Yeah. That was smart. That was awesome. Did you get everything answered that you wanted answered, or were you?
Man, we could have a part 2, part 3, part 4. But yes, I did. I just want to thank you for coming out and having a good time with us.
Hopefully it was a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time.
I had a good time. I was preemptively saying that.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you really know my whole life story now.
That's what we try to do. You give people a glimpse into.
Man, I just like opened up and just like, wow.
We appreciate you doing that. Tell people where they can make reservations for. Now you said, is the farm opening back up? Are you doing that again?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do like the farm is, 4.0. So now that we have Farmbar, we can actually do more events and catering at the farm, which we weren't able to do before. So, and that's kind of where Trey comes in. He will be, once we get the farm back open, he's going to be more of the farm guy.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
right up his
and I
alley.
know he is going to love that.
Shout out Trey Winkle.
Yes. So we'll make an announcement about when we're opening up for
Okay.
reservations. But generally, we don't open until like mid-April.
Okay.
We're open up at Farmbar now next week, which is going to be, I don't know when this is airing, but
I'll probably put it up next week, so it'll be
Okay.
the week that you're hearing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So February is traditionally not a really busy restaurant week. As far as like business goes, usually a pretty slow month for restaurants. So I thought it would be a really great opportunity just to do some fun stuff that's totally self-indulgent. So the first Thursday that we're open, we're doing a chicken fried steak dinner night.
Completely indulgent.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty freaking indulgent.
I love it.
Mashed
And very
potatoes.
Oklahoman.
Yeah. Well,
You learn quick.
Here's the thing. I buy whole animals. So, I'll get, a couple of cows, and that comes with 500 pounds of ground beef.
Yeah, a lot of ground beef,
and,
yeah.
I have about 200 pounds of tenderized steak, and that's not what people want to see on a tasting menu.
That's very
I
true.
tried
Ground
to,
beef a la mode.
I tried to do things like involtinis or things, but they know what it is. They know.
Yeah.
It's like, and so I thought, okay. And then the second Wednesday, or actually it's the third Wednesday, we are doing Valentine's weekend on Friday and Saturday. So there's still some seats left for that. And then it's pizza pasta night. So
Ooh, there you go. Back to your Italian roots there.
There we go.
Yeah, and really that's what Medusa was made on, was pizza and pasta. We had 4 pizzas, 4 pastas, 1 salad, and 2 desserts.
Nice and easy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so that formula worked pretty good. So, and it was black. So, and I love making pasta. So I'll be, cranking out some pasta.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and then at the end of the month, burger night.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, that was the best burger.
Yeah.
That was the last time I was in, right before you guys closed,
Uh-huh.
I think, for the winter break.
Yeah. So that's.
Is that when I stood you up?
Yes, it was actually. He's the one that stood me up. Yeah.
There's just an empty.
I know. I was like, just a sad moment. I was in my feels.
We put like a little glass and a plate with some food on it.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, asshole. I never talked to you about that. You did
sorry.
stand me up. I forgot about that.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up.
I know. Dang it. Now I'm going to have to go to therapy.
Oh,
No.
okay.
But
I know
we
a good office.
Oh, sweet.
we do take reservations through Talk. That's TOCK.
And I think the last time I looked at your Instagram, there was a link to
Yeah.
reservations
Yeah.
in the bio, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for the cookies. My waistline won't say thank you, but
Yeah.
thanks,
Oh,
thanks
they're
for
I'm gonna keep
diet
on eating
cookies.
They're diet cookies. Oh,
They
even
go with the
better.
non-alcoholic.
There we go.
Look how thin they are.
I know, they're great.
They can't hold much.
Yeah, so
I know.
it's like a third of a real cookie.
Yeah.
We'll let you get out of here. Thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back after the break.
And that was Lisa Becklund, and she's now one of our favorite people. I
Yep.
mean, she already was one of
she-
mine,
yeah.
but she's fantastic. Yeah.
That man.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. That was a
was fun.
great conversation, and what a man, listening to someone that comes from such a different world to rural Oklahoma
Yeah.
is such an interesting story. Such a and man, she went right into it.
Yeah, and I thanked her in the parking lot because it got real and it got deep and it got emotional in a hurry. So I thanked her for that because a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable enough to do that, but she's comfortable in her own skin that's covered in beet tattoos and different stuff that's just awesome. She's just so unique. And if you haven't been, Living Kitchen is its own thing. You have to go experience that when it opens back up. I think she said in April, so reservations will probably be sometime in March. And you have to jump on it the day that it's posted or it sells out. But just go eat her food at Farmbar. I'm going to be there. I don't know. I'm going to try to post this before Thursday. So I'll be there Thursday for the chicken fried steak night.
Yeah,
because I'm just a sucker for chicken fried steak.
That's a completely indulgent night. I can
100%.
assume what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But she, her food is spectacular. You can hear
her heart is.
Yeah, I was
in
gonna
it.
say the love of like what
Yeah.
she does is just so evident.
Yeah,
when she talks.
She's dove into a world that not a lot of people dived.
She dove into. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, sorry.
She dove into a world. I don't know. I was thinking.
I'm
of the
not
same
good
thing.
at English. I'm sorry.
What's this language we're
Yeah.
speaking? English. So speaking of a little country twang, you talked about growing up on a farm.
Yeah,
Your cabin now might not be on a farm necessarily, but
it's on land.
It's on
but
land.
not on a farm.
and so this was our 10th episode. The CERT guys will be the 11th episode, but in between then, we're going to have like a 10.5 or just like a special episode. And so after every 10th episode, I think we've talked about this before, but we'll invite everyone that was a part of the previous 10 out to the cabin for some food and drinks and non-alcoholic drinks, and which also, by the way, was fantastic that she
was
brought all
such
that
a
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
That was such a cool part of the conversation.
It was.
And pretty, it opened up my mind to a previous conversation with my team and what really needs to be provided to not only the community that we're making a beer for, but also what their friends might be wanting. And yeah.
But back to, I squirreled off there. But yeah, so the next episode, the next time you see us, we'll be out at El Cabon
Yeah, that's right. And
eating your Dutch South African food, right?
that's right. So yeah, it's called a potjekos, which means small pot food
Well, there you go.
in direct translation.
What other kind of translation is there? So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. One more time, cheers to you.
Cheers.
And we'll see you all at the cabin on the next episode.